Be seated. Happy Sabbath. My name is Adam Fenner. I work for the North American Division on all kinds of digital projects, from websites to social media. Everything you can imagine has digital on it. And one of the projects I'm going to tell you about today is 10,000 digital disciples. And this is the idea that all of us can be involved in ministry. There once was a man walking down the beach, and there was something called a super tide. And this is where the tide goes much further out than it typically does. And he noticed that there were thousands of little sea creatures on the floor of the beach that were now exposed to the sun. And so, being a caring man, he went out there and started throwing starfish into deeper water, catching little fish, throwing them into deeper water, little octopi and throwing them into deeper water. Same with crabs, whatever. And he did this for a long time. And another man came down the beach, and he said to him, "What are you doing? It's a super tide for hundreds of miles up and down the coast. There is nothing but exposed seafloor. You're not going to make a difference. What you're doing doesn't matter." And the first man said to him, as he picked up a starfish and threw it into the ocean, he said, "But it matters to this one." And he picked up another one and he said, it matters to this one. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not called to save everybody, but we can make a difference in the lives of ones and twos and threes and dozens and hundreds quite easily. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And it seems like a daunting task right now. We're faced with a world that needs Jesus more than ever. And you can walk down the street and you can see that. But it's not us that are transforming people. It's not the people in this room that are transforming people. We get to participate in transforming people, but it's the Holy Spirit that does the business. We receive His power. So we can all do it, no matter where we are in life. One of the greatest problems Christianity is facing right now is this idea that only the clergy, only the pastors, only the evangelists who are professionally employed by a church, not just the Seventh-day Adventist Church, can do ministry, can do proclamation. It's everybody. You call yourself a Christian, you are an evangelist. Does anyone know how many people live in the Lake Union's territory? Well, okay, I don't have a t-shirt to give away or anything like that, so I'll just keep on going. There are 35 million people who live in Lake Union's territory. That's a lot of people, right? And that's a pretty daunting task. And if you look at the numbers, you say to yourself, the United States is actually expanding faster, the world's population is expanding faster than we can preach the gospel. But here's a question for you. If only 10% of Adventists in the Lake Union, only 10% of Adventists in the Lake Union decided they were going to proclaim the gospel, the good news about Jesus, to the Lake Union, how many people would those 10% of people have to reach? I'll save you the math. It's 3,933 people to reach everyone in the Lake Union's territory. Does that sound like an astronomical number? Some people it does, some people it doesn't. What if you're online and you're doing proclamation? Does this seem like a crazy number? An impossible number? You can work a lifetime as a pastor or a teacher telling people about Jesus, but you could never reach this number for most people in most of the world's history. Right now, we have the technology to reach everybody on the planet. We just have to have people that are doing it. Here's the interesting verse. We don't really talk about this one too much. Romans 10, 14 through 15. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And this is great. And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all sent by Christ, not just the Seventh-day Adventist Church, to go out and proclaim the gospel. We had 38,000 baptisms in the North American Division territory last year. This is the most we've had in 14 years. And if you ask anyone out there in administration or pastoral ministry, they'll tell you, oh, it's so hard to do it, so hard to do it. Why are we baptizing more people than we ever have in 14 years if it's so hard? The reason why is because people like you and your friends and your family members are involved. We're planting more churches than ever before. We're actually getting out there and proclaiming the gospel in new ways. We're being innovative in all different kinds of ways. I'm asking you today to think about digital ministry. We all have digital platforms here. If you have a cell phone, even if you're not on social media, you have a digital platform. Millennials spend 3 hours a day on social media. Gen Z, probably most of you here, spend 4.5 hours on social media. 1/3 of the United States spends their entire waking lives, morning to night, plugged in online. And the average American, that includes grandma, 6.5 hours a day online. Ladies and gentlemen, the street corner of the past is now online. This is where our reality is. It's not where I want to be. It's not where I want you to be. But guess what? It's where everybody is. And that's where we need to bring the gospel. It's not just for an hour and a half on Sabbath morning. It's every day in people's lives as I'm looking at you on your cell phones right now. And this means personal digital evangelism. We all can do it. It's as simple as writing a text to someone who says, you know what, I know you're struggling right now. I'm praying for you. You just did digital evangelism. It's a podcast, if you want to endeavor in that. It's a Facebook ministry. It's a YouTube ministry. It's a YouTube Shorts ministry. It's an Instagram Reels ministry. It's a TikTok ministry. People are doing it, and they're reaching millions. If you want to be trained on how to do personal digital evangelism, we have 3 free online curriculum from the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists. We have one from Justin Koo. He's the godfather of personal digital evangelism. We have another one, Hochi Hamel in Espanol, si quiere. And then we have another one by Chelsea Ernina, who is a young woman who manages these social media accounts for celebrities and for Fortune 500 companies. Again, it's all for free, and it's all right here. We leave you with 2 verses and 1 story. I got less than a minute. 2 Corinthians, we are therefore Christ's ambassadors as though God were making his appeal through us. Think about that. We are Christ's ambassadors. That's what we're supposed to be doing. What an awesome, awesome task. And number 2 on the list here, I mentioned earlier, Acts 1:8. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes to you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. You don't have to worry about what you're going to say if you're in good with the Lord. You don't have to worry about it. He will speak for you. We'll end with a story of a lumberjack. 10 seconds, I'm going to go a little bit over here. 20-year-old lumberjack. He thought he was hot stuff. He's living in Canada. It's the 1950s. He could work all day long and never have to take a break. And you know what? He decided he was going to enter into a lumberjack Olympics, and he thought he was hot stuff, right? And then he looked at the competition, he said to himself, this guy's 40, this guy's 60. I'm gonna whip him. How many trees can you cut down in 4 hours? You know what? After the 4 hours was done, he was 3rd place. This is a true story. He was 3rd place. And then he went up to the 60-year-old and said, how did you win this event? And the 60-year-old lumberjack said, after every tree, I sharpened my axe. Sharpen your axe, ladies and gentlemen. When you are doing digital ministry, or if you're doing any kind of digital ministry, whatever it might be, on the streets of Chicago or the streets of Milwaukee, whatever it might be in your local church, take time to connect with God, because if you're not connected with him, you will fail, and you will be in such pain and suffering you cannot even imagine. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the power of the universe at your fingertips. When you're doing ministry, don't forget to tap into it. Thank you so much.